Article 250.96 addresses bonding requirements for cable trays and other metal enclosures. Your method of attachment, using a one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap to bond the communications conduits to the cable tray, can satisfy the 250.96 requirement for effective bonding provided certain conditions are met. The critical factor is the proper installation of the one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap and adherence to the manufacturer's instructions. For effective bonding, the strap must be made of a conductive material. Typically, these straps are made of steel or aluminum. The strap must establish and maintain good electrical contact with both the conduit and the cable tray. This means the surfaces where the strap makes contact must be clean and free from corrosion, paint, or any other non-conductive material that could impede electrical conductivity. The hardware used to secure the strap, such as screws or bolts, should also be made of a conductive material and tightened adequately to ensure a secure connection. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies requirements for grounding and bonding to ensure electrical safety. Article 250 covers grounding and bonding in detail. Section 250.96 specifically addresses bonding of metal raceways and enclosures. This section mandates that metal raceways, cable trays, and other metal enclosures for conductors shall be made electrically continuous and bonded to ground. The purpose of this bonding is to create a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, which facilitates the operation of overcurrent protective devices such as circuit breakers or fuses. When a fault occurs, such as a short circuit between a phase conductor and a metal enclosure, the fault current will flow through the bonding path back to the source. This high current will cause the overcurrent protective device to trip, quickly disconnecting the circuit and preventing a dangerous buildup of voltage on the metal enclosure. Without proper bonding, the fault current may not be high enough to trip the overcurrent protective device, which could result in a shock hazard if someone were to touch the energized enclosure. The size of the bonding conductor, in this case the number 6 copper building steel ground, must be adequate to carry the available fault current. The NEC provides tables and guidelines for determining the appropriate size of bonding conductors based on the size of the overcurrent protective device protecting the circuit. In addition to the size of the bonding conductor, the method of connection is also important. The bonding conductor must be connected to the cable tray and the building grounding electrode system using approved methods such as listed bonding connectors or exothermic welds. These connections must be mechanically secure and provide a low impedance path for fault current. It's important to understand the difference between grounding and bonding. Grounding refers to connecting a circuit or equipment to the earth, which provides a reference point for voltage and helps to stabilize the electrical system. Bonding, on the other hand, refers to connecting metal parts together to create a low impedance path for fault current. While grounding and bonding are related, they serve different purposes and are both essential for electrical safety. In your situation, the communication conduits are attached to the cable tray using a one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap. This strap provides a mechanical connection between the conduit and the cable tray, but it also needs to provide a reliable electrical connection for bonding purposes. If the strap is not properly installed or if it does not make good electrical contact with both the conduit and the cable tray, it may not provide an adequate bonding path. In such a case, a separate bonding jumper may be required to ensure effective bonding. A bonding jumper is a short length of conductor used to connect two metal parts together for bonding purposes. It is typically made of copper or aluminum and is sized according to the requirements of the NEC. The bonding jumper should be connected to the cable tray and the conduit using listed bonding connectors or other approved methods. To ensure that your installation meets the requirements of 250.96, you should verify that the one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap is made of a conductive material, that it is properly installed according to the manufacturer's instructions, and that it makes good electrical contact with both the conduit and the cable tray. You should also check the size of the building's steel ground and the method of connection to ensure that it is adequate for the available fault current. If you are unsure about any of these requirements, you should consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer. Proper bonding is essential for electrical safety. By following the requirements of the NEC and using good installation practices, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable. The 250.96 requirement is not just about meeting code, it's about ensuring the safety of people and equipment. In practical terms, let's delve into what constitutes a proper installation of the one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap. Firstly, consider the material of the strap. Ensure it's a conductive metal, such as galvanized steel or aluminum, not a plastic or coated non-conductive material. Secondly, surface preparation is key. Clean both the conduit and the cable tray at the point of contact with the strap. Remove any paint, rust, or debris that could impede electrical conductivity. A wire brush or emery cloth can be useful for this purpose. Thirdly, the hardware matters. Use appropriate screws or bolts made of a conductive material to secure the strap. These should be tightened adequately to ensure a firm, consistent connection. Over-tightening can damage the conduit or cable tray, while under-tightening can lead to a loose connection and increased impedance. Fourthly, consider the environment. In corrosive environments, use straps and hardware that are resistant to corrosion. This might involve using stainless steel or coated materials. Fifthly, inspect the installation. After installation, visually inspect the strap and connections to ensure they are secure and making good contact. Use a multimeter to verify the continuity between the conduit and the cable tray. A low resistance reading indicates a good electrical connection. Furthermore, consider the size and type of conduit being used. Larger conduits may require larger or more robust straps to ensure adequate bonding. Similarly, different types of conduits, such as rigid metal conduit or intermediate metal conduit, may have different bonding requirements. Consult the NEC and manufacturer's instructions for specific guidance. Remember that the goal of bonding is to create a low impedance path for fault current. This path should be as short and direct as possible. Avoid creating unnecessary bends or loops in the bonding conductor, as these can increase impedance and reduce the effectiveness of the bonding system. If the one-hole electrical metallic tubing strap does not provide an adequate bonding path, consider using a bonding jumper. A bonding jumper is a separate conductor that is used to connect two metal parts together for bonding purposes. The size of the bonding jumper should be determined based on the size of the overcurrent protective device protecting the circuit. The bonding jumper should be connected to the cable tray and the conduit using listed bonding connectors or other approved methods. Also, consider the overall design of the cable tray system. The cable tray itself should be properly bonded to the building grounding electrode system. This is typically accomplished by connecting a bonding conductor from the cable tray to the building steel or other approved grounding electrode. The size of this bonding conductor should be determined based on the size of the cable tray and the available fault current. In addition to the NEC requirements, it is important to follow any local codes or regulations that may apply. Local codes may have additional requirements for bonding and grounding that are not covered in the NEC. It is also important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the NEC. The NEC is revised every 3 years, and it is important to be aware of any changes that may affect your installation. Engaging a qualified electrical contractor can provide assurance that the installation meets all applicable codes and standards. They will have the expertise and equipment to properly bond the communications conduit to the cable tray, ensuring a safe and reliable electrical system. Ultimately, effective bonding is a critical aspect of electrical safety. It helps to prevent electrical shocks, reduce the risk of fire, and protect equipment from damage. By following the requirements of the NEC and using good installation practices, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable.